You are listening to Gameday Tarps Podcast with Riley, Dakota, and Dallas.
Welcome back to episode 29 of Gameday Tarps Podcast. Today it's just me and Dally. We are going over some big news regarding the Arizona Coyotes, the draft situation and where everybody falls, unsigned college free agents or drafted college free agents that have signed, and more statistics at the end of the year that have just gone crazy. So it's going to be a jam-packed episode.
As always, everybody, please like, share, and comment, and definitely subscribe and keep that notification bell toggled on to get all the latest news, updates, and everything we're debating in the hockey world from Gameday Tarps.
Let's get into this. Sad news, really sad news from what everyone is calling like the voice of hockey. We had Bob Cole pass away this week on Wednesday, and just terrible news. Really like the greatest broadcaster to ever broadcast hockey. Honestly, that's all you can say about him, and the hockey world's going to miss him.
For 5 decades, yes, like he was the voice of Hockey Night in Canada.
Like
on CBC as well, like just an absolute legend in Bob Cole.
Starting doing this, like with you and with Dakota, has made me respect these announcer guys so much more. Like we used to talk hockey and just goof around with each other and debate things and all that. But when you actually get into it where you're putting yourself in a position where your opinion is out there in the world and you're breaking down a hockey player and you're discussing like, a pro career and with not pro experience from our side of things, and Bob Cole, who was not a professional hockey player, you really gain this openness to what these guys do, because it's crazy how they jump in a booth and they talk and they just keep going and they narrate the whole game and they make you feel involved in what it is. And I think that's what everyone's saying about Bob Cole, is just how he told the story of hockey as it was unfolding. And I heard something today in one of the tributes that they were talking about during the playoff games. And he had said, like, your goal is to not steal the show when you're the announcer. You are to enhance it, but you do not steal it. The players are the show. You are there to enhance it. I was like, what? This guy just loved hockey so much and he respected the players that played it. It's just crazy. And some of his best friends are like Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby, which is just incredible. Crosby gave a beautiful tribute today.
Yeah, and also Wayne Gretzky. They showed it on Sportsnet just before Game 4 of the Bruins and Leafs game. So, Yeah, what an amazing human being. He'll be dearly missed, but like we alluded to earlier, like just an absolute legendary broadcaster. And I think a lot of them out there like deserve a lot more credit. Like these are the guys that you listen night in and night out to as you're watching the game. Like you're not just there to watch the hockey players. Like you said, it's a storytelling. Like they're telling you every detail of the game. They're giving you the backstory of certain players or certain teams, like history, what's unraveling now, what has happened in the past, and what's looking forward to the future for everybody out there. So it's just you're along the ride, the journey with these gentlemen for how many years, and I don't think you quite look at it like they're not background noise, all right? Like you hear them night in, night out, and it's just like they're special people that, come to work every day. They're not just the play-by-play guys. They're just there with the storytelling to live unbelievable moments in this great sport of hockey that we all dearly love. So I think Bob Cole will definitely go down as one of the greatest hockey broadcasters of all time. No question.
Absolutely. And yeah, just so much respect, so much love to him. Hopefully his family is, getting through this. His, close to 90-year life, or 90, almost 91-year life was just incredible how many people he touched and inspired and made fall in love with the game of hockey through his voice. So we got to thank the family for that.
Some very memorable calls too throughout his career.
Yep, the most decorated of all calls. He really had all the big ones. They're all him. Every, like we're talking Bob Orr's goal, his diving goal. We're talking Philadelphia versus Russia game when Russia left the ice, right? Because the Broad Street Bullies were all over them. Like, we're talking about a whole bunch of the biggest highlights in hockey history he was a part of.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's jump into more current news. But the big news of the Arizona Coyotes officially being sold to Utah. And honestly, it came together in about a week. It came together really, really fast. It just took speed. And I think it was pressured by the other owners in the NHL who were like, why are we letting a team sit in a college rink for 5 more years until they get an arena, if they get an arena, when there's a guaranteed $1 billion offer on the table from an owner in Utah, which means that everybody makes more money and all the owners also get a portion of that $1 billion revenue put into their pockets. Like, I think the owners had enough. They said, quit protecting Arizona. We're kicking them out. Time to let this guy come in. And the fact that they did it as a expansion team where he bought, I don't really like this part, where he bought the rights to the players and the staff, because essentially if the Arizona Coyotes never come back, like, I don't know if people really recognize it. So every team that's ever been lost has always been relocated somewhere, right? But this effectively kills the history of the Winnipeg Jets, one, and the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, the original franchise. So if you think of it, right, so like say Clayton Keller had like most goals in a season, for example, with the Coyotes, right? Mm-hmm. He's not bringing those statistics to the new Utah franchise. He's starting anew, right? Same with Connor Ingram and his save percentage last year, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, if they can get the arena deal, like you said, within the next 5 years, they'll kickstart an expansion draft for the Coyotes, and they're going to keep all their, accolades and statistic and history if and when they do come back now. But Utah, on the other hand, is starting fresh anew, but just with the same cast members, all the same characters, right? Your staff, personnel, players, management, et cetera, et cetera. So it should be interesting. I am most excited. About time, okay? There was rumored forever that, Utah's getting a team, but finally, they got it going. And I'm excited to see, are they still going to, be a little bit jittery out there and kind of, suck out there as the old Coyotes we once knew? Maybe not, because the Delta Center can get packed, man. That's a big arena. And when they did their press conference welcoming the ex-Coyotes there the other day to the Delta Center, like, they got a standing ovation. They were excited to have hockey in Utah. So I think if they get the fan support behind them, they'll have a great franchise to look forward to watching for the next season in and out. But yeah, I mean, I don't really want to talk too badly on, the Arizona Coyotes. Like, they were chanting, oh, Salt Lake sucks. But, they played their final home game, we all kind of saw it coming. But, I don't want to, stomp on the diehard fans because, they deserve the team. Okay, they really did. But a lot of the casual fans, like, don't say that Salt Lake sucks, all right? You guys had chance after chance after chance as, Tempe, Scottsdale, Phoenix,
Glendale.
Like, you guys all were like, oh, we don't want the Coyotes here. And then, politicians got involved, like, oh, we don't want them anywhere in my town. But you know what? Don't cry now that they're actually gone. So,
Yep. I know. And, like, what was I going to say? I don't even remember. I'm upset by it, honestly. Like, the ownership, like, Bizinet literally said, like, he doesn't want the ownership to bring them back. Well, first off, if this ownership doesn't bring them back, no ownership is bringing them back to Arizona, right? Like, he's the only guy that wants to have a hockey team in Arizona. They've had, 7 owners in the last 10 years? Oh, this is what I was going to say. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I remember now. Go ahead, though.
Oh, they were just going to empty promises. That's all it's been. Owner after owner, empty promise. Oh, it's a good new arena deal. Nope. So.
Exactly.
Who's laughing now?
What I was originally thinking was, so Mullet Arena didn't even sell out their final game. They had like 4,400 people there. It's a 5,100 seat arena, whatever it is. So they didn't even sell out. They were like 700 people short. And in the first 45 minutes of ticket sales for the season, like season ticket holders in Utah, they sold 6,000 tickets in 45 minutes. They outsold Mullet Arena in 45 minutes for season ticket holders. Like, you can't explain that importance in the difference of revenue that the NHL is looking for. Like, they literally just are better than the Arizona Coyotes the last 5 years. Boom. 45 minutes into existence, they are already better than the Arizona Coyotes.
Exactly. And I think of it too as like an arena personnel boost as well. Because like as a person myself who has worked in an arena, the WFCU Center in Windsor, Ontario, like the more um, the more teams you get playing, the more shifts or the more jobs that you get. So we
Yeah.
used to set up and convert, for the Spitfires, and then, the Windsor Express would come in the next day, right? So instead of just working one shift to just, cater to the hockey, you also get basketball in there. Well, in this case, it'd be
Yep.
a vice versa. It was the Utah Jazz, but now they converted into a hockey rink. So now they're going to be converting back and forth. And that just
Yep.
opens up more job opportunity for the staff there to get more hours in. So I think that's
Exactly.
awesome. So they're kind of
Yeah,
like
all
really
around.
helping out the staff personnel as well there.
Exactly. The state of Utah will be better for this. And then the fact that Arizona can have it back, there will be potentially jobs there as well in the future. So it's like, it's not a total loss for Arizona, but for Utah, this is huge. This is a great investment for them, and I'm excited for it. But let's talk about some names. Let's debate some names here. So the names that have been trademarked recently are Blizzard, Venom, Fleury, Hockey Club, and HC, as well as Mammoth, Ice, Yetis, Outlaws. So those are the teams. So we got Blizzards, Venom, Fleury, Hockey Club, and HC with Mammoth, Ice, Yetis, and Outlaws. What are your thoughts on those?
So I know the NFL, MLB, and the NHL, they kind of piggyback on certain names, but they don't use the same like logos or anything, obviously for copyright infringement. But like in this example, like New York Rangers and Texas Rangers, okay? But in this one, it's a weird case because like I would so be down for like the Utah Mammoth, but there's
Oh,
already an
same.
NLL team, the Colorado Mammoth, right? And you can't use Rocky Mountains in the logo because technically the Colorado Mammoth already has that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think go for a little bit more of some originality. Like the Utah Fury does sound pretty cool. The Utah Blizzard as well. But
I'm big on the
I
Yetis. I like the Yetis. Mammoth honestly is my number one. I love Mammoth. I think that's sick because it's just like a big animal, and I think by the fact that they've already applied for that trademark means that it's not in contention with the NLL team. But to me,
I
Yetis is sick.
I will, but I'll second that because that almost brings me to like what the Colorado Avalanche did in the early 2000s, right? With the Bigfoot,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
I just feel like it's almost similar. Like they're just going to be piggybacking off the Avs a little bit, right? Like
Yeah.
what are you going to have on your side patch here? Bigfoot's like footprint again, like
Fair enough.
I
Fair
feel
enough.
obviously it's not the same, but the similarities is almost piggybacking, I feel. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
say no to the Yeti, but
Okay. Ice. I mean, we've had the Kootenay Ice, which, funny enough, was a Yeti, as well as the Winnipeg Ice. It was a Yeti as their
right.
logo. So I'm not. I don't know. I don't think Ice works. I don't like Venom. That's like a snake. Salt Lake. I know it's by Nevada. It's by Arizona. All that. Whatever. I just don't really get there being a snake there. Like, it's such a beautiful, mountainous, lush area with lakes and all that. Like, I don't really get the vibe of a snake being their logo. But
Yeah, I'm not.
Outlaws. Outlaws is not bad because Utah's a part of the Wild West. Back in the
Yeah,
old days when they had to come from Texas up to the Northwest when they were migrating, Utah was a part of the Wild West, and there were outlaws there. So I don't mind that. I don't mind the Outlaws. I just think it's a little bit childish for an NHL team. For historical, it's cool, but like the Outlaws for a National Hockey League team, it's just like it's kind of peewee sounding.
yeah. I mean, I like when teams really put effort into, really going after what their home state or their home city is most known for, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you were to base it off of like, your national animal or your national like landmark or something, like I feel maybe it might have a little bit more, sense towards the backstory.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to see obviously Ryan Smith and management, they're leaving it to the fans to really help them out with this one. But
Yeah.
I trust they're gonna have a good intention when the final results come in.
Well,
But
did you hear the one for the state fish? People wanted that.
what's that?
It's called a cutthroat.
The Utah Cutthroat. I don't think that's
Yeah.
gonna sit well with
So,
most PG
well, yeah,
ratings.
people said it was too vulgar, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's just a state fish. Like,
You could say the Utah Sidewinders because of the snake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they have a snake that's common there, then I'm fine with venom. I just didn't think that was really something that was there.
I mean, Utah is known for personally because like I've always wanted a road trip there. They're known for their national parks. They're like, have you seen the beautiful scenery they have? Like all the amazing arches, like just the old spires and hoodoos there and everything. Like,
Yep.
man, if they had something to incorporate maybe even that into their jersey would be awesome.
I know.
But I mean, maybe they're veering towards like a fictional character or an animal, but
Yeah, definitely.
that'd be pretty cool too. Like something that's not like an animal, like avalanche. That's not an animal. That's not even.
Yeah, it's a nature. It's a part of
It's
the
part of
rock.
nature, right? So maybe they can go towards nature-related logo and name.
I mean, it could have been like the Utah Lakes.
The Utah Lake,
Like,
Salt Lake.
I really wanted them to be Salt Lake something. Personally, I really wanted them to not just be Utah. Like Salt Lake to me sounds so much more beautiful than Utah.
Right, and it's the whole thing.
That name.
It's like going back to what we were discussing many episodes ago, the Lake Tahoe Lake Monsters, whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the new ECHL team.
Yeah, like and there's they could have done something like that too, right? Like it could have been a little bit more. I just think Utah limits them so much with such a short first name and such a bland first name.
Right? Like I remember when Vegas first came in, they're like the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and then they became Vegas Golden Knights because it was just too long, right?
It was too long, yeah.
But
exactly.
I mean, I don't blame them though, because like a lot of teams don't really veer towards their city; they mostly go towards the state, right? Like Florida Panthers, Colorado Avalanche. So, you know what? Personally, I'm gonna end it. Utah sounds a lot better to me than Salt Lake City. Blank.
Well, so for me, I would have cut out city. Just would have been Salt Lake, right? Like if you look at Tampa, what's really funny about Tampa is they're the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? The city that they are in is just Tampa.
Right.
It's not Tampa Bay. They added Bay into their name for no reason, really, just because they're in a bay. But they called themselves the Tampa Bay Lightning when really they're just Tampa.
So you look on Google Maps, it doesn't say Tampa Bay. It's just literally Tampa, Florida.
It just says Tampa. So, yeah, I find that funny.
Why did they even come up with that?
It's Phil Esposito. I don't know. I don't know what his idea was there. Or why he wanted that. But let's jump into the draft now. I mean, it's the Macklin Celebrini time of year. They announced May 7th is going to be this draft lottery. So which
is going to be literally. Ooh. So if today's Saturday, it's going to be literally 2 Saturdays almost, I think.
No, 2 Tuesdays. 2 Tuesdays.
2 Tuesdays away.
Yeah, next Saturday's the 4th.
Oh, dude. We already know Chicago's going to win it.
Well, here's the thing: is like San Jose is the best odds at 25.5%, right? Like I think it actually is. I don't know. Someone said, okay, sorry. First overall is 25.5%, but the lottery is 18.5%. Like, man, you can say they have the best odds. You have 25.5%, but you have a 74.5% chance that you're not going to win. Like, it's almost impossible to win the first overall pick. you have a 75.4% chance that someone else is going to win it in
Oh,
this
dude.
list. And like, what if it's Utah? Arizona never got a first overall pick, and all of a sudden Macklin Celebrini goes to Utah. Boom, instantly. Like,
I'd be down for that too. Now that Arizona's gone, I'm like, you know what? I could actually root for this.
yeah.
But honestly, just ask the OHL Niagara Ice Dogs, okay? In the OHL priority draft, they had a 40% chance at first overall pick. Where they select? Fourth overall.
Exactly.
They had the best odds, jumped down to fourth.
Having the best odds doesn't mean anything because the odds are always stacked against you. They still had a 60% chance to lose. Not only did they have a 60% chance to lose, they had a 60% chance that they fell 4 spots, and they did. Like, there was 3 other teams.
So the same thing, right? We got, the California teams back at it. Anaheim, San Jose. Like, is Anaheim going to get snubbed again of a first overall pick? Like, are they going to get second again? Or is Chicago just going to surprise everybody and just jump to first? I can see it. I feel like Chicago's just going to snag Macklin Celebrini first overall.
There's a couple teams here that never had a first overall pick, right? San Jose, Anaheim, Columbus, all in the top 6. And then, has Montreal ever had first overall? Like, they've always had good teams back in history, but since the draft came in, have they had first overall?
I'm not too sure.
I don't know if they actually have. They had to have at some point. Ottawa has, Utah hasn't, Seattle hasn't, Calgary.
Like, are you saying first overall?
Yeah, first overall pick. Because, like, when Montreal dominated, it was pick your player. It wasn't draft. Right? So, I don't know if they've ever had the first overall pick.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
But either way, it's going to be interesting for who does win it. And you know what? I'm just going to take a stab. I'm going to say, out of total disrespect to Arizona, somehow Utah is going to win the first overall pick.
Actually, Montreal has. Sorry.
They have? Okay, who was it? Who did it say who their first overall was?
Guy Lafleur in 1971 from the Quebec Rempart.
Okay. I didn't even know that.
They've had first overall picks, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. So that leaves Columbus, San Jose, Anaheim, and Utah, Seattle, Calgary as the guys who haven't had first overall picks. I mean, teams that could jump all the way to first overall are Buffalo, New Jersey, Calgary, Seattle, Ottawa. So Buffalo and New Jersey have jumped numerous times to first overall when they had lower odds. Seattle's been second before. Calgary's never had it. Ottawa they had Alexander Daigle. That was their pick. I really want to see that documentary.
Oh, yeah. He was supposed to be the next Mario Lemieux, the next Joe Sakic. Like, yeah, he was looking so promising coming out of the queue, but unfortunately with the Senators, just never took off.
Yeah. His career just
very unfortunate.
Derailed. But yeah, I think I'm going Utah. Who are you going? Who do you think's going to win it?
I don't want to say it, but I got Chicago.
You think Chicago's going to get it?
Oh, they're going to want Chicago to get it, right? Because you mentioned it, right? They're going to want at the Winter Classic, Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard showcased against the St. Louis Blues and crybaby Jordan Binnington getting, hung out to dry out there and scored on.
I could see it. I definitely could see it. Well, speaking of Chicago, let's jump into our rookie signings, guys out of college that signed. Chicago signed Frank Nazar to his entry-level deal. Cutter Gauthier signed his entry-level deal with the Ducks. Tampa signed Dylan Duke to his entry-level deal. Blue Jackets signed Gavin Brindley to an entry-level contract. Who's this? Oh, that's all Gavin Brindley. So those were some of the rookies that have signed recently. And then we had a guy who returned, the GOAT of goalies. Marc-Andre Fleury is back, staying in Minnesota for one more and what will be his final season.
I feel bad because like I love Marc-Andre Fleury, but Minnesota, man, like they had a promising start to the year, but they fell off hard, man, in the Central. Like, let's be honest. Like, seeing Minnesota not make playoffs, not even as a second wild card seed, and you got the likes of Nashville beating you out, like, oh boy.
Oh, I know.
Like,
It was
maybe
hard.
he doesn't want another cup run. That could be another thing. Maybe he's comfortable in Minnesota. You know, he likes the group of guys he's there with. He's like, you know what? I don't care if I'm in win now mode anymore. I'm at the tail end of my career. I just want to go out there and have fun.
That's what
Great,
it
that's
sounded
probably
like.
his mindset. So yeah,
He said
no
he just
wrong
still
with
loves
that.
to compete, and he's not done competing yet, which is fine. I mean, as someone who grew up playing hockey, like, dude, you hit 18 years old and you're not good enough to continue on. It just ends. Competitive hockey is just over. And in my heart and in my soul, that compete is still right there. And yet there's nowhere I can take it to. Like, I can't just go try out because now I'm like 50 pounds heavier. I'm slow. I get muscle cramps at night. Like, you know what I
Welcome
mean?
to beer
Like,
league, son.
exactly. But I don't like beer league because it's just, I work so hard to just be decent. It just feels like such a failure to have to go to beer league because it's just like empty. You know what I mean? So like
I
I get where Marc-Andre Fleury is like, I'm just not done, because when you call it, it's over. Right? Like, it's done. You take 1 year off. For most guys, it's over. You can't come back. Some guys have come back in multiple sports. Michael Jordan, whatever, right? Like, they've come back. Most people can't, and it just ends. And that sucks. So I can see why he doesn't want to.
That's fair. We'll see.
Lots and lots and lots of milestones, though. So we got 500 games played for James Reimer, 1,000 games played for Erik Karlsson, 100. Oh, okay, that was it for the games played. Then we go into our point milestones. We had Connor McDavid reach 100 assists, becoming only the fourth player ever to do it. 2 nights later, we had Nikita Kucherov reach 100 assists, becoming only the fifth player to do it in NHL history. And in terms of Kucherov, for most points in a season by a winger, Jaromir Jagr had 149, Mike Bossy had 147, and Nikita Kucherov finished with 144. So it really puts him up there in the conversation of top wingers in NHL history.
Okay. I think as a winger, like, you want to talk one of the best wingers in NHL history, it's going to be Alexander Ovechkin. No question asked. But I also know that we were talking off air, Riley, like, who's going to be one of the better goal scorers that we've ever gotten to watch, right? Is it going to be Austin Matthews or Alexander Ovechkin? So, like, obviously Matthews had a career year in goals. That's awesome. But it's also like Ovi had a rough start, but he's picked it up too. And he's getting closer to Wayne Gretzky's record. So, like, who are you more excited to watch right now? Alexander Ovechkin chasing Gretzky's record, or Matthews almost, well, he's still in his prime, but almost getting to a quarter mark to a halfway mark to what Ovechkin had?
Yeah,
Or has.
Here's the hard part. Like, I never want to be the type of guy who's mad at history being made, right?
Never, no.
Like, if Austin Matthews, say Ovechkin beats Gretzky's record, and then Austin Matthews beats Ovechkin's record, I'm not going to be mad that Austin Matthews beat the record and is such a great goal scorer, because it's not fair to Austin Matthews as a player. But what I'm just going to be disappointed for is how hard Ovechkin worked and how long it took for something to happen. It's kind of like Connor McDavid this year. Connor McDavid is undisputably like the best player in the league. He gets 100 assists. It hasn't happened in 30 years. And then it's like 2 nights later, Kucherov does it. And I love Kucherov, obviously. He's one of my favorite players. He's on my favorite team and all that. But it's like, it just kind of deflates the importance of it when someone else does it right after you. So it's like, if Ovechkin hasn't, or Ovechkin's going to do it, and no one's done it since Gretzky, right? His record stands tall. That's incredible. Oh my goodness, Ovechkin beat Gretzky. And then it's just going to be like less than 10 years, and it's going to be like Matthews beat Ovechkin. And that's going to suck. That's going to be like, oh, like Ovi worked until he was 40 years old to break this record. And Matthews, with the pace he's on, he's going to beat it by like 35. Like, he's on a crazy path. right now.
Dude, we honestly got treated to some great hockey this season. I couldn't be
Oh
more
yeah.
excited. Like, Nikita Kucherov winning the Art Ross, okay? He finished with the most points in the season. And then
Yep.
in second, you had McKinnon, who broke a franchise record, beating Peter Stastny for most points in a season by a Nordique/Av with
Yep.
140, beating 139. And then, as you said, McDavid having 100 assists in a season, being the first player in 30 years to do it. Like, all three guys that are 1, 2, and 3 were having career years. Like,
Yeah.
it was exciting. Now, only think that if Ovechkin didn't have his rough start, he maybe could be even closer to history, catching Wayne Gretzky too. And then Austin Matthews, 69 goals, almost
Yep.
hit 70, but not quite enough. Like, we got treated to some great hockey, and I'm excited to see what's in store for next season, man.
I have to say that was one of the best games I've ever watched. Was Game 82, Tampa versus Toronto. Sorry, but Game 80. Yeah, no, it was Game 82 for both, where Kucherov had 99 assists and Matthews had 69 goals. Those teams in a nothing game, they both have their playoff spot locked up. They know who they're playing. They went all out. Matthews had 9 shots blocked. He took 17 shots on net outside of that. He was going crazy. His team was feeding him left, right, and center. Tampa was blocking him every chance they get. Tampa had their AHL starter in net because their backup was injured and they didn't want to play Vasilevsky. And then Kucherov gets his assist for his 100th point. And then what? I'm like, okay, they're going to stop playing Kucherov. He just keeps rolling normal shifts. I'm like, what are they doing? These guys are playing like this is a playoff game right now in Game 82, and they were doing everything they could, and they did end up stopping Matthews. It was the only game this year, from my memory, not an official stat, that Matthews didn't score versus the Lightning. I'm pretty sure he scored every other game versus the Lightning this year, except for the last one when he was about to get 70. And, like, I don't know why people get so wrapped up in it. Like, yes, 70 is a round number. It's cool. But he still beat Ovechkin's 65 record by 4 goals.
Yeah.
Right? Like, then the next best scorer was McDavid at 64 last year. And then it was Pasternak, Matthews, and Stamkos all tied at 60, I think, after that. So,
Right, like, when are we going to see this again? It could be another few
yeah,
years before we see someone hit a 60 plateau. Oh,
exactly.
maybe even one away from a 70 plateau. Like, you don't know when we're going to see it again. So just appreciate when hockey history is being made, all right? You could say, oh, I hate Matthews, overrated, or oh, I don't like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, you know what? Appreciate what you're witnessing. You're
Yep.
watching history, boys and girls. Like, just enjoy. Enjoy the beautiful sport, which is known as hockey, all right? It's a great
Like,
game. Just enjoy it. I don't care
like
whose team it is.
you got to think of it. Like, Austin Matthews played 81 games and he scored 69 goals. Like, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Like, an unreal pace. Then you had
Yeah.
Kucherov, 144 points in 81 games. McKinnon, 140 points. I don't know how many games he played, but 140 points regardless. And then McDavid, like 133 or 135 points. And then McDavid scores 5 points his first playoff game. How many did McKinnon get game 1? Like
What's
2 or
that?
3 points of
In the
game 1 of the
playoffs?
playoff. Yeah, first game.
You got 2 points.
Yeah, and Kucherov got 2 points. Like, they all just continue off. Now, Kucherov has like 5 points in 4 games, and McDavid has 6 or 7 points in 5 games, or 4 games, and McKinnon's up to like 5 or 4 points as well, or 6 points, whatever he's at. Because, yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
dominant.
well, he should have been dominant the last 3 games of the regular season for McKinnon there, but he kind of didn't show up until the last game of the season. He kind of took a break the last 2 games, 80 and 81.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Winnipeg and Avalanche series, holy,
Mm-hmm.
they were just fighting teeth and nail the last 3 games, like 6-7 final, and then what was it, 6-2 or 6-3 final last game
Yep.
for the Avs. Like,
Yep.
just
6-3.
like Avs faithful, I love them to death, but like even I know that like it's gonna be such a tough opponent to go up against the Winnipeg Jets, who have had such a successful season, and having a Vezina nominated Connor Hellebuyck playing his ass off this season. Like, I think we're gonna lose to the Jets. Like, no shame. I mean, like, I'm not going to say, oh, fake fan. I just know that Winnipeg's a tough customer, and I think
Hmm.
it's going to go to game 7, but
Yeah.
just it's tough to say who's going to come out alive that series, man, because just two juggernauts out of the West having to face each other in the first round is just so hard to predict.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually thinking I'm switching my vote. I just thought that based on the regular season, that the fact that Colorado scored 3 goals in 4 games versus Winnipeg, I thought that they were going to struggle. Then they lost game 1. And I was like, okay, they're struggling. This team is kind of not able to beat Connor Hellebuck. But the last 2 games have changed my mind. What do they have? 10 goals in the last 2 games from
Yep.
Connor Hellebuck? That's a big
They're
that's a
living in his
big
head rent
confidence
free.
booster.
Oh
Like
yeah, dude.
that's a big swing.
He's pulling a Georgiev right now. Like Georgiev
Mhm.
was just absolutely ass. And then, well, I can't say totally because the defense core has just absolutely imploded on themselves, given Winnipeg 2-on-1s. Like it's
Yep.
going out of style, like it's trendy right now on TikTok. But I just, man. And then now Connor Hollabach is feeling the heat. He's just
Yep.
getting buried by an avalanche of goals. Wink. So I think tomorrow afternoon is going to definitely be the turning point of like if the Avs can go up 3-1 or if Jets can tie up the series, like that's going to be the turning point of the series. Even for you, like we were both watching the Tampa Bay game today, like
Hmm.
they did not want to go down without a fight, all right? They didn't want to
No.
repeat of 2019, okay, going up against Columbus, but you're going up against a powerhouse in the Florida Panthers, man, and that is a tough
Yep.
customer as well. So I
And
think, yeah,
they just didn't come for game 1, 2, and 3. They were slow. They were intimidated. You know, like everyone was saying, oh, Florida's smothering them and like they're taking away their ice. Okay, I get that. But you have guys making $9 million and they weren't fighting for their ice. They were just allowing the ice to be taken away. And it was kind of embarrassing. And it was like, oh, we're going to get rolled. But game 4 came around. Sergachev comes back in. Stamkos starts it off with a massive hit on Tarasenko. And then he scores his power play goal. Like Stamkos has 5 goals in 4 games. He is absolutely leading this team. He's hitting like a truck. He's blocking shots. He's just leading this team because here's the reality. This could be it. Whatever game is their last game, whether it is the Stanley Cup winning game or it's an elimination in a series, however that ends, it could be his last game in a Lightning uniform. And I don't think he wants that. I think he wants to stay there for his career, but money wise, Tampa just might not be able to do it. So
yeah,
he's working his tail off.
I think that Braden Hagel deal kind of fucked you.
I don't think that one's that bad. It's well, here's the thing. You probably will see Eric Chernak traded. He has a no trade clause that kicks in July 1st. So the only chance to trade him would be the draft. And he's $5 million and for 8 years. And I just think that they already realized that
That's
contract
way
is not.
overpriced.
He was sheltered by McDonough. He got his deal in the final year of McDonough being there when they traded him to Nashville. And ever since he's had to anchor a pair himself, he can't do it. And then they play him with Sergachev, who they also kind of gave too much money to. But Sergachev at least carries him, whereas Chernak needs to be carried now. So $5 million for a guy who needs to be carried. When it's like Matt Dumba is just as equivalent. He's a free agent. You can pay Matt Dumba like $1 million and
That's a steal.
plug him in, and then you could sign Stamkos, right? Like, there's a lot of options. They need to trade Jeannot. They need to trade Connor Sheary. Like, Connor Sheary is a healthy scratch at $2 million for the next 3 years in the playoffs. Like, you need Connor Sheary, and he's sitting in a press box, right?
Yeah.
So trade Sheary. Like, I like Jeannot, but his $2.5 million is just too much. I think it's got to go for a fourth liner. He won that in arbitration fairly and to his right because that's what arbitration does, but he's got to go. Right? Like, there's just a lot of guys that have to move on and make space for Stamkos to stay because next year, who's up? Hedman. He's a free agent next year, right? So, they got to look. And I honestly, I love Brandon Hagel's deal. I mean, the guy is in the top 3 hardest workers constantly on Tampa Bay. Him, Cirelli, and then you could throw a couple guys in there, but him and Cirelli are constantly the hardest workers, and I would love for them all to stay.
So
But
what you're implying to me is that Tampa Bay is basically ready to, just wipe their chessboard clean. And I think I wanted to jump into that now with Pittsburgh. I was saying off the air, like, there's rumors and rumblings that they're going to want to get rid of Malkin and Letang. They want to get
yep.
them traded. So before their deal's done. They're obviously in rebuild mode. I think Tampa's almost, ready there themselves. If Stamkos is gone, they got to trade Chernak. Or sorry,
Yep.
yeah, Chernak, Janot. I mean,
Cheery.
Connor Sheary, ex-Pittsburgh Penguin, right? Like, I mean,
Yep.
where he
Want him
played the
back?
best in his career.
You want him back? You can have him.
Yeah, I think this summer we're going to see some teams really cleaning their chessboard, like just making moves and see a lot of these players that we grew up and loved getting
Mhm.
older and maybe playing out their remaining days on a contender.
Well,
But
I'm interested with Pittsburgh too because do you know what it is that Letang just searched for a second opinion on an injury for?
I did
Like
not.
I saw it. It said Pittsburgh's Chris Letang seeking second opinion for potential career-ending injury or something like that. So I was like, what? Like, what is that about? And it was from Sportsnet or something. I forget where I saw it, but he's seeking a second opinion on something.
I mean, he's had,
So,
2 heart attacks on the ice? Or off ice?
2
Sorry,
strokes.
2 strokes, yeah.
Which is
So, I
even
mean, if
worse.
that wasn't career-ending already, right?
Like, yeah.
I mean,
And
you're going to have, Crosby and Karlsson quarterbacking that entire team, and you're going to get rid of 2 very important pieces who have been there for the last 2 decades, sorry, almost 2 decades. But
still, I don't know.
it's
Here's the
hard.
thing: if Letang is injured and his contract goes on LTIR, then you might as well keep Malkin because then you just have Malkin, Crosby, and Karlsson, and you just go from there, right? And I don't want to see Letang have to be done, but in terms of cap, that does benefit the Pittsburgh Penguins not having to do a couple things. Number one is trade away a franchise icon and be looked at as in a negative situation for that, right? Like trading away Malkin or trading away Letang. So if Letang goes on LTIR, it'll be kind of like a happy closure, like, oh, he's doing it's for health related reasons, and it gives us some cap relief all kind of at once. It's like an all kind of best case scenario for how to move on from a player, and then you get to keep Malkin. You don't have to make that call. So I think that would be their best case scenario. But
That sounds like a
you never
David
know.
Clarkson or a Nathan Hornet move, too.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Those guys that just sat on Marian Hossa, Shea Weber, Carey Price. And you know what? I still say to this day, if it costs any team in the NHL a first round pick, you should be trading with the Montreal Canadiens for Carey Price. He is $10.5 million in LTIR relief. That's worth a first round pick.
Oh,
when
yeah.
when you're trying to win. That's crazy. That LTIR relief at $10.5 million, that is a huge bonus to any team. So I don't know why, I would be if I was any of those teams. Tampa right now they traded Chicago for Brent Seabrook's contract, right?
Take
6.5
advantage of the
million or whatever.
LTIR, man.
Exactly. It gives you the extra money and pay to get, because what does Montreal need Carey Price's contract for in their rebuild? They don't need that LTIR. It's
Right?
just sitting there being wasted. They should use it as an asset. He's not coming back. He's already said that he's done. So you might as well use it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, what was I going to say? Carey Price. Never mind. I thought I had something there for it.
Best goalie of all time. Not winningest goalie of all time, but probably the best goalie of all time.
Oh, hands down. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, moving for LTIR money, think of Gabe Landeskog too, even right now.
Yep.
Right?
Mark
teams
Stone.
should be taking advantage. Mark Stone. That's what I wanted to say. So a lot of teams are using LTIR money. Everyone's getting mad, oh, Mark Stone is just, ready just in time for game 1 of the playoffs. But it's you guys realize that all teams use LTIR money, to make signings or trades for players?
Exactly.
They're not cheating the books, man. This is the rules. And they're playing between the lines.
And you see it. 2 years from now, there will be a new CBA, and this will be changed. There will be a salary cap in the playoffs. They will add that to the contract, which means that this can't happen. Which means that at trade deadline day, when your top player is injured, but he could come back in the playoffs, guess what? Your salary cap has to remain below. But if he's done if his prognosis is July, okay, then you can use his LTIR in the playoffs because he's legit out. But if he can return at any point in the playoffs and you're over the cap, they can't come back. But if they can come back, you can't play them without adjusting your cap correctly. And you can't do anything in the playoffs. There's no trading and all that. So you'd be stuck. You couldn't bring your player back. So I think that's the most fair way. Definitely, like, it started with Patrick Kane in Chicago in 2015. Then it went to, I forget who did it next. Then it went to Kucherov. And then it went Landeskog and Stone at the same time. And then Stone again. Back to back to back for Stone. And, like, you look at this series, like, the game's on, behind my screen here right now. And, like, the guys doing danger for Vegas, whether you claim fair or not, are their 2023 trades of Eichel and, why am I blanking, Barbashev, and their 2024 trades for Hannafin, Hurdle, and Mantha. Like, those are the guys that are helping this team win. Like, it's OT right now in this game currently. Dallas Stars, most people's best team in the Western Conference, are potentially about to go down 3-0 to the second wild card team, Vegas Golden Knights. Because
I picked them to go to the finals.
Oh, no, I lied. They just scored. 3-2 Dallas. Game over. But
don't count out the Stars, man. And it's 11:15 our time, too. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's still 2-1 in the series, though, for Vegas. Like, there's still a hill to climb for Dallas, and they're the number 1 seed. They had to get to overtime to beat the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. Like, that's crazy. That's how good of a team they are. It's like Washington versus New York. Like, today the East was almost only one team that won a game that lost. Like, if Toronto goes on to lose versus Boston, they won one game, but then it was almost Tampa got swept, Washington got swept, and Islanders got swept.
See,
like,
and this is
what
almost
boring.
This is the one thing I can't stress enough too about hockey. So is, like, I don't care how good your team is in the regular season. I don't care if you win the President's Trophy. I don't care if you win your division. You can have the greatest regular season in your entire franchise's history, okay? That does not mean shit. Wipe the chessboard clean. Playoffs are a whole different animal, whole different ball game, all right? Toronto Maple Leafs is a perfect example of this too. They can do so great in the regular season. Players could be having, accolades won, career years. Guess what? Everybody changes in the playoffs. They start getting shaky, nervous. They don't perform. They don't show up, or it could be, roles flip. They could be shit in the regular season, just slip by like 2019 in the St. Louis Blues and win it all. So it's just like, don't just judge it on, like, oh my God, Vancouver won the Pacific Division. Like, they're going to just steamroll Nashville. No, they're not, because
Nashville won game 1.
Exactly. So you just have to look at it differently. Like, once playoffs start, don't be bringing in all these different expectations. Like, you got to come in with it with an open mind, because it's tough. Like I said, with the Colorado Avalanche, like, I knew damn well coming into the playoffs, we are not going to, in a perfect world, we're not going to sweep Winnipeg, but I know we're at least going to take it to Game 7 or lose to the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, it's going to be a close series. And even like you're talking about Toronto, look at tonight. They imploded on their bench. Did you see that situation with Matthews, Marner, and Nylander?
Yeah, and then there's TJ Brody, who's getting paid $5.8 million, I'm pretty sure, just to turn over the puck to Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak on a 2-on-1 in his own zone to get just scored on. Like,
there's a reason
Toronto,
he was
it's
scratched
horrible
the whole time.
Yeah.
There's a reason he was scratched until this game due to injury. But
he has not been the same player since Calgary. He has not. And Toronto needs to stop overpaying these guys that are bums. Okay? Yep. They're at the tail end of their career. Like, just Toronto can never make the right moves to win. And same with Edmonton. Is this going to be the year that McDavid and the Oilers go to the finals? Can their GM's moves finally pay off? Because Toronto's looking for the same answers too.
Well, let's just throw this out there. A team has never won the Stanley Cup with someone who makes $10 million or more. With at least one contract. The Maple Leafs have 4 making over $10 million. They have next year, technically. But they have Nylander, Tavares, Marner, and Matthews. And then today, Matthews was giving it to Marner on the bench. Marner's face is like red, like he's crying and he's freaking out. You can't really see what Matthews says, but someone did the lip reading of Nylander. Maybe it's not true, maybe it is, but it looks like he says, "Quit crying, Marner. This isn't effing Junior." That looks like what he says to Mitch Marner on the bench,
buddy.
And 2 seconds later, Mitch Marner rips his gloves off and whips him at the ground.
Whips him like a child. I know, he's a baby. He's crying. Because you know what? He hasn't showed up himself.
Why anyone would ever pick Toronto versus Boston? Boston is 100% in their brains. No doubt about it. Boston could be a wild card too 25 years from now, and Toronto could be the President Trophy winning team, and it will still be in their head that they can't beat the Boston Bruins in the playoffs because that's how good the Boston Bruins are against them. It's just all in their head. There's so much pressure, and there's nothing they can do about it. And these guys, they just implode. They're stars. They just implode. They completely implode.
I'm sure a lot of people out there will agree to this, but what is inevitable? History repeats itself. Okay?
Yep.
Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Boston Bruins in the playoffs. History repeats itself, okay? They're going to go down. They're going to lose to Boston, okay? And I'm not hating on the Leafs, so don't get that image in your head, okay? It's just inevitable. Toronto does not show up in the playoffs to play. End of story.
No. You can't, literally, these 4 guys are making $10+ million
last year.
You can't be making $10+ million and playing like this. They have $50 million allocated to Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Matthews, and Morgan Riley.
JT should go.
$50 million. Well, no, I mean, right now, Marner should go. With the way he's playing, name one time that Mitch Marner has been good. Name once in the playoffs in the last 5 years when Mitch Marner has taken over. Who has taken over? It's been Matthews and Nylander. That's why Nylander just got his contract.
Nada.
And Marner can't handle it. He's soft as baby crap. He really is. He is all the talent in the world.
Toronto won't, they won't trade away the Toronto kid. No, we got to keep all the Toronto guys together because, they bleed white and blue. I'm wearing my PJs. I've been dreaming of this since I was a kid to play for my hometown team. Well, guess what, buddy? If you want to win a championship, sometimes you're going to have to let go of your hometown grown guys, all right? Like JT, Marner, I'm sorry. You guys love them. They got to go. Get some great assets. You got guys like Easton Cowan coming up who is showing so much promise from the London Knights that you guys drafted. This is your future right here, all right? From the same team that you guys drafted Mitch Marner from in juniors.
Exactly. It turns out Marner did score tonight. I didn't see that, but at the end of the day, they're
still not performing as a team,
they're showing right now. Toronto fans are crying. It's only 3-1. Yes, they can't lose again, but they're crying. Their fans are crying. It's over.
Tell me if you see this trend, Riley. I see it a lot, okay? When Toronto is in Boston's zone, all right? Whenever they got Jeremy Swayman down and out for the count, and he's flailing around, to reposition himself to get in for a save, and Toronto is just desperately trying to flail their twigs around to get the puck in the net, and they fail miserably, all right?
Yeah.
They can never focus. They're just slashing their sticks around to hope for a God-given miracle that puck goes in the back of the net. They fail horrendously. That's what I've noticed, at least. I'm sure you probably have as well, but they can never get a goal to save their life. Wide open cage, Swayman or Allmark is down, and they're flailing. They're missing it. They couldn't even hit a beach ball to go in the back of the net. Dude,
Literally,
that's what I've been
beach
noticing this
volleyball
series.
goalposts, and they're missing. I know, and yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And you know what it is? It's mental. It's
Boston's in
all
their
the
head.
way. Every time a player is taking a shot for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's I have to do this to beat the Boston Bruins. Every single player has that weight on their shoulders. Every single player has that thought in their mind. So they grip the stick tighter. Here's the thing. When you just shoot the puck and you're not thinking, odds are 50-50 you'll score. But when you all of a sudden take that second and you have to think about what that goal means, it's over. Because you are now processing the game slower and you're thinking more about the moment. If you count the goal before the goal goes in, you basically never score. You just have to shoot based off of hockey skill and hockey reactions, not off of planning. Like, you can't plan what you're doing. You just have to react to the way that the sport is played. And Toronto versus Boston, they have to think all the time about that pressure.
They overthink.
It's too much. Yeah, it's too much.
They overcompensate, and then they just getting sloppy out there. Like, Jeremy Swayman is 6-0-0 this season against the Maple Leafs, regular season and playoffs. So, like, they are desperately out there playing like it's life or death, which they should be, because you're literally going down 3-1. But you can't beat Boston, especially in your home barn. Like, TO, obviously we've talked about it before. You know, that market is just crazy. The pressure, you know, from the fans, management, the city, like they can't come out to perform, and Boston just has to go out there and play their game, and they're doing a great job at it. Right? They've lost some assets over the off season, but boy, they're sure kicking your ass still.
They're a good team, man. They're a good team.
Especially Brady Marchand, man. Holy.
Oh, yeah. Dude's built for the playoffs.
Oh, he
I
is
actually
built
saw
for the
that
playoffs.
today. I saw that today. It was like one guy on Toronto makes $3 million more than this guy on Boston. Like, they weren't saying names. They were just kind of making a joke of it. And they said, yet this small guy on Boston is dominating this entire team. And, like, you know, they're just both, like, Marchand's making like $8 million and he's dominating them.
Do you know who scored against the Leafs tonight, which I thought was ironic as hell, was James Van Riemsdyk. Okay, he was on the Maple Leafs in 2013 on the other side with the Leafs when Boston kicked their ass. And now he's on the other side with Boston now, and he gets to score against his old, you know, team, the Leafs. So I'm like, man, have the times changed?
I know.
And he'll be on the winning side.
Probably. I can't see Boston blowing it now. They're going back to Boston for Game 5.
Oh, dude, Beantown's going to be rocking.
Over.
They're going to
clean it. Like, I don't... Because I'm a Tampa fan, literally my team was down 3-0. They're down 3-1, and they're about to go back to Florida. But, like, Tampa's mental state, I think, could be better. Toronto going to Boston, I just think that they're deflated. Especially if Matthews is sick still, because he didn't play in the third period. Because he was sick.
Yeah.
So, like, if no Matthews is there, I think this team falls apart. I don't think that they come back, to be honest. And I don't even know if my own team does, because, you know, we don't have a crystal ball, but I really don't think Toronto does.
Well, quickly, I just want to say another team that no one thought would come back to was the Islanders in double overtime against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping they'd get swept. I thought
had to
they would have
switch
got
it to the
swept.
Tampa game, because if it was the last Tampa game of the year, I had to watch the whole thing. But I was like, dang, this is a good game to have to switch off. They were playing so hard, both teams. And that's all it takes. Stand in front of the net, get hit with the puck. Islanders have a chance, too, to do something special. They really need help, too, because Carolina's a dang good team.
Oh, dude. Don't be surprised if they're not in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oh, I wouldn't. Honestly, I would not. I know I picked, in our little snippet that we made, I know I picked Tampa and Vegas to be in the final. You picked Dallas and New York, and then Dakota picked Dallas and Florida. So, realistically, me and Dakota both could get killed by each other, whether Vegas wins or Dallas wins. We both lose that. And then whether Tampa wins or Florida wins, we both lose that. So, we could both have no picks left in our final bracket, but you're the only one really sitting there looking good with the Rangers, because they're definitely a good team.
Oh, yeah, never count out the blue shirts, man.
All right, let's jump back into this here. A couple more things. Per Chris Kren on X, the only 3 players in NHL history to have 40 goals and 100 assists in the same season: Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Nikita Kucherov. So back to Kuch a little bit there. So he's, that's it. That's the list with 40 goals and 100 assists in one season, is those 3. So this breaking down the 100 assist thing that we were talking about, like why maybe McDavid's felt a little like it meant less. So the first ever 100-point game was Bobby Orr, which was April 3rd, 1971, or March 4th, 1971. I don't know which way they did that. Either way, 1971. Then the separation between Bobby Orr's only time getting 100 assists and Gretzky's first time getting 100 assists was 3,648 days. Basically 10 years in between that. And then the distance between Gretzky's first and Lemieux's first and only time. Gretzky did this 11 times. Let's just remind everyone how crazy he is. He's got 11 times 100 assists. So the distance between Gretzky's first time and Lemieux's first time was 2,891 days. Then the distance between Lemieux's first and McDavid's first was 19,371 days. I don't even know what that is in years. It doesn't give me the years here. That is just crazy. Almost 20,000 days in between 100-point 100 assist seasons. And then you have McDavid's first to Kucherov's first, 2 days. From once a generation to twice a week, it happened. Like, just crazy. And that, like you said, there's just marvel in this year. Like, Paul Bissonnette has been saying this for about 2 months now. This is the best NHL season in history. And
without a doubt.
I'm on board with that. Absolutely. I think it's never been more competitive. It's never been higher scoring. It's also like the high scoring, but it's also never had better goaltending. It's never had better defensemen. It's never had better offensive defensemen. Like, all around, the entire game is just better.
Well, and think of all the young stars coming up too. Like, you got Connor Bedard, and then you got Dylan Gunther coming up for Utah. Quentin Byfield and Alexis Lafreniere finally finding their spot for the respective teams, for the Blue Shirts and the Kings. So, like, it's just no wonder that the viewership in the NHL has been having a positive uprise, which is awesome to see, because it's about time, right?
Yep. Absolutely it is. I mean, no offense to basketball, but this sport is so much better than basketball. And I get why basketball is more popular for 2 reasons. Number one, every city has basketball courts already built. So no matter how little money you have or how much money you have, you can play basketball.
And you just have to dribble a ball.
You need a basketball. You can play barefoot. You could play in, sandals. You can play in shoes. It doesn't matter. You can play basketball anywhere. It's just like soccer. You just need grass and you need to make goalposts out of something. You can play soccer with a ball, right? That's all you need. So hockey, you need all this protective equipment, and you need a stick, and you need ice, and you need the boards, and you need a perfect storm to be able to play hockey. And it's expensive. Cities don't want to build outdoor hockey facilities, right, for their people to play road hockey and stuff. It's expensive. So they put down blacktops and they paint white lines on it, and they put in 2 basketball hoops with chain instead of netting, and that's it. When the chain breaks off, it's just a hoop. Like, that's what most cities are. And that's why it's easier to play soccer in southern United States, like Miami and California. They're big into soccer, or Florida, not just Miami. And then same with basketball. Why California is so big in basketball, because you can play it 12 months out of the year. Same with Florida, 12 months out of the year. Texas, 12 months out of the year, right? So I get why hockey's harder, but as a sport, I personally even have hockey above football. I think hockey is so much better than football, because football is so much stop and go. Yes, are the big plays spectacular? Absolutely, they're spectacular. But it takes 150 down, whistle, reset, down, whistle, reset. Whereas hockey, yeah, there's whistles here and there, but most of it is fluid, flowing action with players interchanging and randomness and just so much that goes on. It's just such a beautiful game. So to your point, I think the viewership needs to be even higher. It's just not quite there yet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I guess so. Matthews finished with 69 goals, like we said. We actually had a really cool stat for hits. Jeremy Lauzon, he got 9 hits in his final game of the year, which set the NHL record for 383 hits in a season, which passed Matt Martin's previous high of 382. So he beat it by 1 hit in this season. So good for him. So he holds the all-time NHL record for hits. So good for Jeremy Lauzon. And then the big one here, Sidney Crosby joins 10th all-time in NHL points. Last episode we talked about his 1,000th NHL assist, I think it was. Yeah, 1,000 assists, and now he's 10th all-time in points, which is just incredible. He's just the best. He's the best modern-day player to ever do it. He's incredible. He'd be top 5 without his injuries. Easily, he'd be top 5. He might even be top 2. Honestly.
Yeah, if he didn't get, involved with the tragic classic of 2011. The whole concussions and bullshit in the early 2010s.
He's 300 points behind Yager, and what did he miss? 3.5 years, and he averages 100 points a year.
Yeah.
So there you go. He's second overall in NHL history. Probably going to be only the second player to hit 2,000 points in NHL history ever. If he were to do it, he probably can't do it. Who knows? He's so good. He might be able to get there, but it would take even more than Ovechkin getting the goal record. It would be really hard.
Well, since 2016, Sid's hardly missed any games. But before that, he was missing games left, right, and center.
Yeah, what was it? 13,
so he's finally overcame his concussions and his injuries.
Yep. Yeah, we did have some trophies to end the year. We had Kucherov win the Art Ross because of his 144 points. So that's most points in a season. We did have Matthews win the Rocket Richard with 69 goals for most goals in the season. And then we had Connor Hellebuck win the William M. Jennings Trophy. And I believe, it was Hellebuck and Bressois. So that's like goals against average and save percentage combined for goalies. And then for team trophies, the Rangers won the President's Trophy as the best team in the regular season points-wise. So we'll see if that curse reigns true or if the Rangers can actually break that curse in the NHL this year.
Well, I'm pretty sure they won the President's Trophy in 94 and then won it all.
They might be the last team to have done it then.
Right? It could be 30 years later.
Yeah.
We're going to show you that the President's Trophy curse is kind of bonkers.
Because I think it is the 30th year of the President's Trophy curse. They might have been
30 years since they won the Cup, right? So
that could be it. Because I don't think it's been forever. They showed it. I saw an infographic. Yeah, I think it's a 30-year infographic of teams no longer winning the President's Trophy and then not winning the Stanley Cup, which makes sense. I mean, realistically, there's 16 teams. The odds are not 100%. So. We'll just quickly, we did go over the playoffs in pretty big, but we just have the bracket here. So first overall in the Central is Dallas, and they got wildcard 2, which ended up being the Vegas Golden Knights from the Pacific Division. Then we have second and third in the Central Division, Winnipeg versus Colorado, the Dallas Bowl. We have Pacific number 1 being Vancouver Canucks versus wildcard 1 being the Central Division's Nashville Predators. And then we have the Pacific second and third overall, Oilers versus Kings. We have the Bowl for me, which is the first overall in the Atlantic versus Wildcard 1, which is the Atlantic, which is Tampa versus Florida. And then we have the Atlantic 2 versus Atlantic 3, Boston versus Toronto. The Metro 1 versus Wildcard 2, which is New York versus Washington Capitals, who are the Wildcard 2 in the Metro. And then Metro 2 and Metro 3 is Carolina versus the Islanders. Right now, those series are, I believe, now 2-1 for Vegas, 2-1 for Colorado, 2-1 for Vancouver, 2-1 for Edmonton, 3-1 for Florida, 3-1 for Boston, 3-0 for New York Rangers, and 3-1 for the Carolina Hurricanes currently. So a lot could have ended today, but a lot could end on Monday as well. There's going to be a lot of options there. And we're nearing the end here, but we got a bunch of people who have actually won trophies. Denver won the national championship, the Frozen Four. So congrats to Denver. We had Team Canada win the 2024 IIHF Women's World Championships over the United States in the final. So congrats to those ladies from Canada. It's kind of cool because they went right back into the PWHL as soon as they came back. So those women are just going crazy this year. They're having a heck of a year, which is awesome to see. We had our own local, the KIJHL, or the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League. We had the Revelstoke Grizzlies. I know, Dally, you have been rooting for them for a long time, as they're back-to-back, right? You say back-to-back?
Yeah, champs was... No, Princeton won last year.
Okay.
But then they won the Cyclone Taylor Cup, I think, the year before that. Revelstoke. Right. So just Revelstoke in general are just literally the team to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just for BCHL, like, Penticton is the team to beat.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Revy is definitely the team to beat in the K. So, yeah, congrats to them, boys.
Revy, there's nothing to do there.
What do you mean, buddy?
Well, okay, think about it, though.
Revelstoke.
Yeah, Revelstoke, exactly. When you're playing there, you're not allowed to do anything, right? You have to avoid injuries, so you're not skiing, you're not snowboarding, and it's so much snow there that you're just, what are you doing? You're just hanging out. There's nothing really to do. Like, there's no town really there. Like, I've been through the downtown and everything, but there's not much.
I know they have a couple, little niche cafes there. I mean, they got the exit rooms there too now, like escape rooms, which is pretty cool.
Good.
Pretty fun. I mean, hell, even go skip rocks down on Arrow Lake, right? I mean, I don't know.
Winter,
I'm sure there's stuff you can do. Go to
the
Meadows
escape
in the
rooms
Sky.
is torture. The escape rooms is torture. Because
what do you mean?
You can go to an escape room, but then you come out of the escape room and you're still stuck in Revelstoke.
I think the last time I did an escape room was 2018 in Kelowna. It's been that long.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's fun though. I enjoy it. It was cool.
We'll have to do one maybe. The boys will fail because I suck at them, but
I've never won one. It's
Same.
hard.
We have the AJHL Inter-Pipeline Cup champions, the Calgary Canucks. So congrats to all those teams for winning their trophies this year. Obviously, the big one coming up is the Stanley Cup, but then we also have WHL Championship coming up. We have OHL Championship coming up, QMJHL Championship, and then the Memorial Cup to follow. So we will give an update on all those when they happen. Those series are going crazy. Next episode, we're hoping to do a full playoff breakdown. So we will be talking about WHL. We'll be talking about NHL. We'll be talking about, the whole CHL, really, and any other playoffs that are happening. Those other playoffs, they just finished, so we didn't really have
a lot of upsets.
A lot of upsets. So we'll be breaking them down in our episode 30 playoff bonanza. I don't know what we're going to call it, but it's going to be wild. All right, last couple things here. Panthers promote Bill Zito to president of hockey operations. Sabres fire Dan Granato as their coach, and Sharks fire Dan Quinn. I don't get the Sharks firing Dan Quinn. They've announced that they've been in a rebuild, unless it was a mutual thing. I don't know why they got rid of him. It's not like he was expected to win. So
maybe it was character-wise. Who knows?
Could have been. A couple of retirements. Chris Weidman announced his retirement. Jeff Carter announced his retirement. And like you mentioned to me, Jakub Voracek officially retiring from hockey altogether, but he did retire from the NHL last year. And then we have, speaking of Bob Cole, we have an announcer retiring, which is the Boston Bruins announcer, Jack Edwards. Sorry, Jack. We were talking about the respect that we had for announcers. it's just not sad to see you go. Honestly, like the stuff he says, hoping people get hurt. Like when Roman Polak got hurt and he was cheering for it, saying that's what you get. And like he like was getting stretchered off with a neck brace and he was yelling at Roman Polak saying that, like, there's no respect there. That is not like Bob Cole talking about this is about the players, don't steal it. Jack Edwards tries to steal it from the players. He's like, if they're not a Boston Bruin, he hypes up all the Boston Bruins. But if you're not a Bruin, he is putting you down.
Boston sports media in general are extremely biased. Red Sox announcers are the exact same because I watch a lot of MLB. It's just Boston in general.
Just that whole area.
No class, unfortunately. I'm sorry to throw shade, but no class towards other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, imagine saying like you wish ill upon another player of the opposing team. Like, for one, that's just bad publicity to even say that out loud, and for two, like, that's just wrong as a human being to wish ill upon another. Like, I'm sorry, that's no class, Boston.
Yeah, and Tampa and Boston, all their battles, like he called Pat Maroon fat.
I remember that one.
TV. And now, how funny is it that Pat Maroon's on the Bruins?
Right? And Jack Edwards like,
oh, Pat Maroon, best enforcer in history.
Oh, looking absolutely chiseled out there, off-season workout. Like, yeah, exactly. Backpedaling, buddy. You're backpedaling.
Yep. And then we had a hire. Lindy Ruff returning to the Buffalo Sabres. He was their longtime coach when they first came into a starting organization, like 20 years or something. He was the coach there. Fired and now brought back. And they did mention that this was not a hire based on previous relationship. This was that they really liked what he did in New Jersey with their young core. And he felt like he was the right coach to bring their young core the next step forward like he did in New Jersey. So I respect that. I think that's a great call for them. And this was just a wild stat. Honestly, something I just picked up and I thought was crazy. So during the entire season, which for these two players, for Barkov and Forsling, in their combined ice time at 5-on-5, they had 450 minutes played together. They gave up 9 goals the entire season of 450 minutes on the ice together. Those two.
Damn.
That was a shock to me. I was like, holy cow, that's like obviously like probably the Barkov's winning the Selke, like no, he's always in that conversation. And Forsling led the league in plus minus this year. So it's like, no doubt these guys were fantastic. And then our final note is that the NHL officially announces a 2-year deal with Amazon that will see Prime Video become the home of National Monday games in Canada starting next season. And they were reports that they were following around Quinn Hughes at Canucks practice before the playoffs. So
what happened to Sportsnet?
It's only for Monday games, which don't happen often.
Oh, fair enough.
Because it's a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday league, right? Like they usually play those days. So Monday games are once a month or twice a month.
Or your Sunday matinee game.
Exactly. So they're just picking up the kind of the garbage time games. But it's a start, I guess, if that's the way they want to go. But that is basically it for our news. Now let's get into our episode 29, Battle of the Tarps. So we have in our Battle of the Tarps our April round robin 2, which we rolled home jerseys for the PWHL Boston. They're green jerseys with Boston diagonally and then white stripes on the sleeve. And then we have the home of Lloydminster in the AJHL as well. So here, I'm just going to send them to you now so you can look at them. I should have done that earlier, but I'm saying it. So for me, honestly, I like Lloydminster in this one. I think that the Boston jerseys are kind of neat. It's like a 4-leaf clover, very Irish, very much like that, the Celtics, whatever you want to call it, that vibe for Boston. And I like that they've done that. But the orange in Lloydminster is just awesome. It's so bright. It's so vibrant.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan of the
Everything's
highlighter
dominant.
orange.
Yeah, same here.
It looks
Love
great.
highlighter orange. So for me, definitely I'm going Lloydminster on this one. But Boston, I like it. I think it's great for their first iteration of their jersey.
Oh yeah, like it's a great first iteration. It's a good jersey, but just with the logo, the color scheme of Lloydminster, like you kind of have to give it to Lloydminster, and that's what I'm going to do. I love the jersey. It looks very clean, very sharp, good color choice. So yeah, good stripe design.
Agreed.
Good layout altogether, boys. I like it.
Exactly. All around. Honestly, one of the better
Good
ones
tarp.
we've seen in this. Yeah, great tarp.
Great tarp.
And then we had our April round robin number 1 winner, which was the Cape Breton Eagles. Shout out to Dallas, your family that's there. They won that vote from the fans. So that's their away jersey, their white one. And then we had our March champion, which will go into our champion round at the end of our year. We're going to do a whole champion round. The Portage Terriers won that, so congrats to them.
Portage Terriers.
Yeah, Portage Terriers.
Portage Terriers.
A December, January, February, and March champion. We're on to April, so we're going through April here. And April's going to be a short one too, basically because we're at the end of April. It's going to be the winner of Lloydminster versus Boston is going to take on Cape Breton in the April final because we only had time for 2 episodes this month, just like in March where Portage won, just because we only had time for 2 episodes. So that's okay, though. We're going to get it out there. We're going to pump them out. We're going to have you guys vote. And that's pretty much it. That's the end of episode 29 for Gameday Tarps. As always, everyone, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell like Dallas said. Download any of these episodes on any of these streaming services that are Spotify, Apple Music, everything. That's how we can kind of see and keep track of things for our fans and for those who are watching us. When it gets downloaded, we can see it and it comes up as a notification for us. So do that. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen to all the episodes, as much as you want. We really hope that you're enjoying them. We just want to say thanks to everyone. Episode 30 is next. Honestly, we didn't know how far this would go. The fact that we're already at 30 episodes is crazy. I think we're having fun. We're doing what we can. Appreciate you, Dallas. Appreciate Dakota, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. The 3 of us. It's been a blast being friends, just doing this. So again, tune in. Stay tuned to everything that comes out. That's going to keep coming out. We're going to keep trying to do lots of different things. But here we go.
It's only up from here.
29. It's only up from here. We're having
to the next 30.
To the next 30. Here we go. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.